their claims. More than that, his own behavior ran counter to most Rasta values. For example, Rastafarians abhor materialism. Haile Selassie, on the other hand, led a life of unparalleled luxury. He reportedly fed his dogs from gold platters. He paid one man specifically to wipe people's shoes after the dogs peed on them. He paid another to carry a pillow to put his feet on when he sat down, and paid yet another to bow once every hour on the hour. He was called His Majesty's Cuckoo. But while Selassie was leading the good life, stashing away millions of pounds in the Swiss bank account, the Ethiopian economy collapsed and his people starved. Look at these scenes. Selassie was eventually deposed by a coup in 1974. The other central pillar of Rastafarianism is that blacks are captive in Western society. Rastafarians refer to the West as Babylon and believe that blacks will only be truly emancipated if they physically return to Ethiopia. But despite the fact that many thousands of Rastafarians have made the pilgrimage to Ethiopia, only a handful have chosen to stay. Every thinking black person now accepts that we have an emotional and political relationship with Africa. But for most of us, the idea that black people who have made homes for the hundreds of years in America, the Caribbean, or Britain should abandon them to return to Africa is very difficult to understand. In fact, it is often said that instead of turning the minds of young men towards dealing with the realities of this country, this myth of a return to Africa is just an escapist fantasy. So that's my case. Rastafarianism has to prove that its merits are worth the sort of sacrifice that Trevor Dawkins has made. I want to come to Trevor Dawkins, who's with us in the audience, and I want to ask you this question. In retrospect, after you didn't get the job and having lost the appeal, do you think it was worth the sacrifice?
Yes.
Why?
Just like anybody else making a sacrifice for what they believe in, same as what I do.
How long were you unemployed thereafter?
About 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever once feel, well, oh my dear, shall I retreat? Shall I back down? Shall I leave it and join some other religion? Was there any doubt at any time under all of this pressure?
No doubt.
You remain firm?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to turn to Shango Baku, dramatist and writer. He's a devout Rastafarian, and last year he was part of the delegation of British Rastafarians who went to Ethiopia to mark the centenary of Haile Selassie's birth. Thank you, Shango, for coming. It's a great pleasure to have you. Here, in England, you understand that? Why are you here? Here.
I'm here first
in England.
By the grace of Jah Ras Tafari. And that grace is eternal.
Okay.
Angels in heaven and the creation on earth sing his praise.
Okay.
And we would be foolish to do otherwise.
Okay.
We are pleased to be here.
But why are you here in England? You went to Ethiopia, didn't you? Why didn't you stay?
Why didn't I stay in Ethiopia?
Part of your religion is that you go back to Africa. You went. Why didn't you stay?
Repatriation is not a simple thing in the sense that you pick up your bags and you go to a different country. It operates on several levels. One has to be repatriated in terms of their mind. You've got to have a vision that is compatible with what you want to do.
Have you repatriated your mind?
Well, I was about to explain the different levels of repatriation. So the physical repatriation can only come after that. And then there's the question of reparation, yes? Because we have dues that are owing to us in order that we can repatriate properly in the land from which we were taken. So all these questions have to come into the situation of repatriation.
Is it a question of saying to a lot of young people and so on, which you're entitled to do in any religion, do as I say, but don't do as I do? Because if an example has to be set, the question of leadership and representatives, they must go first, establish themselves, and then the flock would follow.
That is what is being done.
Is it?
Yes. So therefore it is, do as I do. You know, we have an example to set so that others can see the integrity of our faith. So if we had not gone in July 1992 to praise His Imperial Majesty on his 100th anniversary, then there could be questions asked.
Do you think it's right that a young person entering life in very difficult circumstances should be asked to make such serious sacrifices? Do you think it's right?
You keep using the word sacrifice.
Well, to be a Rasta is a very difficult business.
Well, you said it's a sacrifice, as if they have to go through some pain. And I'm saying it's a blessing. And that if you have any sense and you have children or you intend to have some, why not?
The guy lost
bring
his
them
job.
in.
He lost his job.
He lost his job.
Yeah.
How does he look? You said he's very handsome. Does he look as if is he
He
embittered?
lost his job. Other people have lost their jobs. Don't you accept that?
Well,
You
started off by making a statement that we are different from
persecuted by the police, by customs, by all manner of people.
Yes.
Do you think that you are in a position to require people to go through all of that, even though they do? I'm asking if that's your policy. I must ask you.
Yes, therefore you will find that my young son at the age of 5 carries his dreadlocks wherever he goes in the world. Yes, and I would demand that of him. And if we have to go through sacrifices to understand ourselves better, do you mean to ask me whether I would turn away and become a sellout if, you know, I found what I had to do in my heart difficult? Is that what you would do?
Shango, you're absolutely avoiding the reality.
Which reality?
That these guys lose their jobs, Shango. They do. It's extremely difficult. You are a highly intelligent, highly sophisticated, highly educated, highly cultured individual. You can always get a job. There are others who can't.
Jobs and employment is two different things. The Rasta man employs himself because he wants to be independent, yes? And because he has that spirit of projecting his Rastafari faith in a real way. So the employment by the system is not
was he doing something wrong applying for a job elsewhere?
Was he doing something wrong?
Yeah.
No.
Anti-Rasta?
No.
Oh.
At all.
Okay.
At all. We also have people who are doctors and lawyers.
I want to take up some other questions of religion with you now. Selassie is God. Now that's one of the difficulties that Ethiopians have, and I want to tread very carefully, because when you're dealing with people's gods, you have to tread carefully.
You need to.
Do you believe he's a living God?
Yes, we observe a living God. We worship a living God. Yes? Why seek ye him among the dead? Jah liveth continually.
But isn't he dead?
Isn't who dead?
Selassie.
Who says that? Who says that?
I thought he was dead and buried.
You thought he was dead and buried. You thought he was dead and buried. Why did you think that?
Because his bones were dug up recently.
His bones were dug up recently. Did you follow that incident?
And his own family reburied him. Someone here, a member of his family is here.
Reburied him. Yet we have testimony of his own offspring saying that they have never seen his body, that they cannot vouch for him being dead, even though they are not Rastas. I'm just using your line of thinking. Yes?
Okay, so
I'm asking you. Because I'm the advocate of Rastafari.
I'm certain he's dead.
I'm putting you on the hot seat now. Yes.
I'm certain he's dead and buried. Okay.
You are certain he's dead and buried.
I always expected God to have a certain imagery of good and decency and anti-despotic behavior and so on. Don't you agree?
He does.
That's in the very nature of anybody being God. Did he or did he not stash funds away?
He did not. He did not.
The Swiss embassy reported in a letter 100 million pounds, US dollars, 100 million that he stashed away in the bank accounts in Switzerland. Evidence. You wouldn't be for that at all, would you? No God behaves like that. You wouldn't, if the allegations were true.
It doesn't arise for me to think of, because we know that those things are not true. And for someone who has seen that our legacy as black people stolen and destroyed by that kind of propaganda,
absolutely,
I am sure that you realize that you have to question those things very closely. That is why I wanted to see how far you wanted to go without saying it's an allegation, and to put yourself as one who would say those things.
Let me go a little further.
Come.
Are you accepting that if these were true, you may have to reorganize your theology? If they were true.
Yes, but I am not even tempted to investigate something that is negative, yes? In other words, we know the person of His Imperial Majesty. We know of his integrity. We know of his love for Ethiopians. We know of his love for humanity. We know of his championing of equal rights right through the world. So why need we?
So you're saying, I want this finally from you. Are you saying that these bank accounts that were established as his, that is not true?
It is certainly not true.
Okay, fine. I'm going to talk about his luxurious lifestyle. Maybe you may say that your gods need to live in luxury. You may say so. 27 automobiles. Is your God do that?
Your queen God. 27 automobiles.
That's what I'm coming to. She don't claim to be God, though. Nobody claims her to be God.
How many do you think he should have?
Well, Jesus didn't have any.
Yes, but he is the Father, the greater God, who Jesus spoke of.
Muhammad had none.
Didn't he?
No.
They weren't around at that time.
They walked. I mean, I'm coming also to, in this luxury, and you may accept, as the brother there accepts that if the Queen has it, Selassie should have it. But I am concerned about him being God. You see, that's my concern, and I have to put this to you. This massive famine in Ethiopia was obviously the responsibility of the government of the day. His government.
What famine?
He was in power when the famine took place.
Which famine are you talking about?
1974.
1974, when the famous unknown famine brought people to think of Ethiopia in a certain way.
Come on, Shango. I mean, we saw the
Yiparite gas was used against the Ethiopians.
Down.
I am calm, you know.
I know, we know each other.
Well, what's that got to do with it? I am here.
We could exchange on this
I am here representing Ras Tafari. You and I knowing each other has nothing to do with this at this point.
Okay, be ungrateful. Right. Be ungrateful.
Ungrateful?
Famine.
Yes.
Wasn't Selassie
Let us remember what happened. Yes.
Wasn't Selassie responsible?
In 1935.
As leader of the country.
When Yiparite gas was poured down from plains that covered northern Ethiopia and other provinces with a fine acid rain that came down, killing people, cattle, poisoning water, damaging the whole ecology of Ethiopia. And then you come and ask me if so 1973 famine
You are blaming the famine on the bombing in 1935.
These things are known, and these things are facts.
Is that what you're doing?
These things are partly responsible.
Be careful, you know, be careful.
Yes?
Be careful.
And we have done investigation.
Are you not wishing to accept any reality about the misgovernment of Ethiopia and its peoples by the emperor, the most respected, most renowned Haile Selassie?
Your last words. The greatest statesman in this century who was able to bring his country from a state 3,000 years BC, while that Yiparite gas was coming down from a 21st century nation, yes? And to bring it like an unwilling child towards the 20th century. No one can even assess that work.
Why don't you accept Selassie's serious flaws and therefore revise your theology?
Because you haven't shown me any serious flaws. What serious flaws?
Thank you, Shango Baku. After the break, I'll be taking further evidence from some interested parties. I want to first go to Mulugete Asarati. You are Haile Selassie's second cousin. You were imprisoned with him. You must have known him pretty well. Can you tell me about his reaction to the divinity that has been put upon him by Shango Baku and his Rastafarian brethren?
Right. May I just correct you at one point, and that is, I was not imprisoned with him in the same villa, but in the same compound.
Yes. It's a matter of location.
No matter of location, that's right.
All right.
My proximity to His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie was one of a family relationship. The things that I happen to know at the time are confined to family matters, and there they remain. All I know is that His Majesty had a special heart for Jamaicans. Especially so because the Jamaicans have paid in blood for the territorial integrity and the independence of Ethiopia. And that's...
But is this, I'm asking about religion. Is he God? Did he accept the divinity that was placed upon him?
No, he didn't accept the divinity that the Rastafarians claim. He never accepted that.
Why?
Why? There was no reason for him to accept.
Do you think he's dead?
Definitely. The family has accepted, may I correct you at this point, that
you may say something different from what I've said.
No, let him...
No. I'm just...
Let him talk.
Right.
He didn't interrupt you.
I'm
not interrupting.
All the respects for what you said. His Majesty is dead, without any shadow of doubt. His death, like all death during Mengistu's time, is shrouded with secrecy, mystery, right? And his remains has been dug out and handed over to members of his family who were then at the time. It now lies in custody at the Imperial Mausoleum near the Imperial Palace.
I want to go to Professor Ollendorff. You worked with him at the palace. You wrote his biography. You were a great friend of his for how long?
40 years.
Is he dead? You accept that?
Will you allow me first to address myself very briefly to 2 points which you made in the
No, yes, you
part.
may, you may.
You spoke of a life of luxury. The emperor personally lived a very frugal life. What, of course, is a fact is he lived in a palace. He was the head of state, the emperor of an ancient realm, but he personally was a self-effacing, modest and frugal person. He did not salt away any money whatsoever. His son, I have personal knowledge of this.
All right, I want to come to the question of his divinity. Did he accept that? Or you were close to him. Do you accept that he was God?
He has never spoken to me about this.
Do you accept that he was?
It is not for me. I'm not an
But
expert. I'm not an expert on divinity.
Was he God? Yes or no?
I do not know what God is. I am not an expert on this. My field is Ethiopian studies, Ethiopian languages and civilization.
Okay.
I'm prepared to answer any question on that subject.
But on Ethiopian civilization and language, you must know whether the leading figure in Ethiopia was God or not. Otherwise, you're not dealing with civilization.
He was the emperor,
are you?
He was the emperor of Ethiopia.
Okay.
He was the head of the Ethiopian church.
All right. Let me take you again, Shango, with what Azarati said. He said the man is dead. And they accept that he's dead. And they buried him.
No.
He's in the mausoleum. And he's not divine. That's what the man says. His personal relation.
We are his personal relation. That's why we call ourselves by his name, Ras Tafari.
I have to put these questions. You know that. Second cousin says the man is dead. Finito. In the mausoleum. Finito. That he wasn't God. Finito. What say you?
Let me say this.
I'm coming.
Quoting from scripture, there's a chapter in, I think, Peter's second gospel that says, we have not contrived, we have not made up these funnily contrived things that we say about His Imperial Majesty, but we were eyewitnesses of him. Yes? Yes.
Shango, you have made your point. You have made your point. You want to come back and I want to come to you after.
Very
Yes.
good. What I want to tell you, and at the same time ask you, is if His Imperial Majesty believed in his divinity, would he have given the Jamaicans, as he has done, the faith of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church? That's what he did. That's what he gave you. He is the defender of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Oh, there's an Ethiopian Orthodox man here. Are you?
Yes.
You are Archpriest Selassie.
Archpriest of Ethiopia to Selassie, yes.
Was Selassie God?
He is not God.
Oh,
Let me explain.
Okay.
First of all, when he was a small child, when he was 40 days old, his parents took him to Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Adaret Iko Selassie in Harar region. And the Ethiopian Orthodox Church priest baptized him in the name of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let it be your name, Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie means the power of the Trinity. That means it's not part of the Trinity. It's not part of the Trinity. Just to give him this kind of a spiritual life and to bring him up through Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Shango, are you baptized in the Ethiopian Orthodox?
No, I'm not.
Will you?
No.
Why?
Because, as I was about to reply, Jah has given us many things, yes? There was a situation when he arrived in Jamaica, yes? And he came or was about to come off the plane. If you listen to the authorities, they would say that he was affronted by this mass of Rastafarians who had traveled from all parts of Britain, and the whole plane was surrounded by ganja, and there was, you know, it was in danger of going up. Those on the inside would tell you the smallest line in the Bible, and Jesus wept. Yes? The reception that he didn't have in Ethiopia. Yes? Because you did not recognize your God. There are those who are still alive today who say that His Majesty, on coming on the steps of the plane, said, warriors, priests, dreadlocks, I am He. And those men are alive today, and they are unlettered, and they are poor black men with dreadlocks like this. They are not authorities, and we haven't got it written down, and they didn't have a cassette to tape it. All right.
I will seat my man. I want now to move. I will seat my man. I want to move swiftly to the question of back to Africa. Let me hear from some Rastafarians in the audience, a couple, two, about going back to Africa very specifically. Those who are really determined to go and who will be going. Anybody here who determined to go? I want and why? Let me take the brother with the time on the right, and then you after.
The reality behind repatriation, right, is that one does not just do something on the basis of emotional irrationality. One has to plan. We cannot impose ourselves upon our fellow brothers and sisters as a nation without having something in return to offer, i.e. education, funds, or technical skill. Because of the situation of the way how the West works, we as Rastafarians seldom get that opportunity.
Okay. Let me hear the brother next to you.
Yeah, the reality is that Africa, Ethiopia, and repatriation is a must for I and I as black people, because we know that we cannot survive in the West. It's a reality. We must return to our ancestral homeland. 500 years ago, from I and I ancestral was taken away from the shores of Ethiopia, Africa. The struggle has never stopped. You know, we fight in the plantation, in the hills, wherever. It's from generation to generation. And I just a living manifestation of that fight to return to our ancestral home and develop up. Because as we know, Africa right now is vulnerable. We only have to look inside the continent and see what is taking place.
When are you going?
When I going, that is for I and I to decide. It's not for I and I to really divulge that.
Okay. Sister, would you tell me, are you about repatriation? Are you for?
I'm about repatriation for all black people. I think the reality is that Rastafarians is the spearhead of anything that to do with black people. We're the only community that says that Jah, the Almighty, is black. So we are black in our totality.
Yeah.
So when we talk about repatriation, it's important that we build Africa, because we can see around us that Europe is going. Now thousands will die, and if they want to stay, that is their choice. But it's important for people to mentally and physically and spiritually prepare themselves to go to Africa. And when you talk about Ethiopia, you have to have a special spirituality for Ethiopia, because it's the land where the Ark of the Covenant rests. So when you're talking about the divinity of our Father, you must remember the history of our Father too.
Okay, I have no problem with that. May I go straight to Blair Greaves, the Harden Great Tory Councillor? You Jamaican, you grew up with Rastafarianism around you. Are you going? Why not?
Certainly not. That's not my intention. That's not my hopes nor my aspiration. Just as you have other races and other nations that are in different areas, different parts of the world, many of them have their spiritual roots from where they came from. But of course, the individuals who are preaching are trying to brainwash and to encourage many of our young blacks. I'm talking of where we are living now in the United Kingdom. I think it's a misconception. It's the wrong advice, the wrong approach, the wrong guidance they're giving to our young blacks that are here. I think many young blacks that are in this country, they have a part to play in society. They should stay here and avoid muddling their minds and their thoughts. No, that is wrong. To those that are the older ones that do believe in it, let them keep it that way, but do not spoil the impressionable minds of the young people. Wrong.
Marcia Dixon, the religious editor of The Voice, are you here? Marcia, what say you? Return to Africa?
I'm
going back next week.
You're going back next week? Bye. I'm an outside observer. I can understand people having longings to get back to Africa, but from where I'm sitting, sometimes it seems like a rhetoric. It's a hope that people have, but maybe aren't that interested in actually carrying it out. That's how it comes over to me.
I want to ask a curious question. Are there white Rastafarians here? Where are you going to return to? I'm not taking the mickey, it's just I need to know. What say you? Africa? What's that to do with you?
Spiritually.
You get into problems.
No, spiritually.
Tell me about it.
To Zion.
I beg your pardon?
Spiritually.
I haven't heard you.
To Zion.
The birthplace of creation.
What say you to him, Shango?
To
the white Rasta.
I'm sure he's just answered for himself. He said spiritually Zion. I cannot answer more than that.
And that's part of, you embrace that.
Well, Jah has taught us to live in fellowship with all peoples, yes? And you will find that example also in Ethiopia, that for centuries, many religions have lived side by side.
The brother behind us has had his hand up.
Yes, back to Africa. I represent the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. That's an organization that has been established by His Imperial Majesty for black people that's been taken out, Caribbean their borders to the Caribbean. This organization has been forefront in repatriation. We know building in Ethiopia, Shashamane, that's part of the land grant that His Imperial Majesty has given to us. We'd rather repatriate back to Ethiopia and set up ourselves strongly and evidently so that we can represent ourselves, rather than have to push ourselves on an establishment after how many years of assimilation and tell us that we cannot work here, we cannot work there. As from the gentleman question, we rather would have said that if our foreparents had gone to Ethiopia and Africa, rather than come here, where we are brutalized by the police and all the system, our children has been denigrated in all kind of way, then I would think it would be a positive and we repatriate back to Africa. We'd have been in a better position today than what we are here, discouraging jobs and things like that.
This is, I want to put it to you again as the devil and put it sharply, very sharply. This is all fantasy, it's not real, is it? It's not real.
What is not real?
You're not going back anywhere. A lot of people aren't going.
Stay here along with you.
No, in fact,
remember we have prophesied that Babylon will fall, yes?
In fact, there are not many people are going to go, and that for the majority, it is really a fantasy. I have to put that.
Have you heard the Ras Tafari prophecy of Babylon will fall?
We are looking at Europe
Yes, I've heard
today.
that.
You are also a political analyst.
I've heard that.
Is Babylon falling?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm not here to answer.
John Major.
I am
if
not
you
here
don't
to
know.
answer your question.
Come on.
I am
And
not
are you going to leave your children here for it to come tumbling down on their head?
Well, let me come to my last question with you now and just ease up and relax.
Are you under pressure, sir?
Are you listening?
I'm listening clearly.
Aren't you an ordinary fundamentalist with misconceptions of who is God, with misconceptions of what the Trinity
Babylon
is,
falling or not?
misconception of what Selassie is?
If we are confused, then we have no vision. But if from 30
You're not a real Rasta,
or 40 years ago, we can say that Babylon will fall, and we are seeing it happening now, why aren't you convinced? Why aren't you convinced?
You're not the real item. If you were the real item, you'd be baptized next Sunday.
Why?
And be in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Why?
Because that's where loads of Rastas are right now.
Not really.
Oh.
Not really.
Can I say something with this?
Okay, thank you for coming, Shango. Thank you. Is Rastafarianism a religion of such standing that Trevor Dawkins and young people like him should be required to make the sacrifice he made in order to keep the faith? You may have already reached an opinion. I will now take a few moments to consider whether I am convinced. Thank you, Shango Baku, for coming and sit there for a while. Rastafari. Thank you. Thank you, everyone else, for joining me. Stay there for a while.
The devil's advocate has finished his examination. In a moment, his judgment.